Hi, my name is Stuart Ogden and welcome to a short 10-minute taster session about geography at Huddersfield New College. So the Geography A-Level course is divided into 6 modules, the first of which is water and carbon cycles. There is also coastal systems and landscapes and hazards of the physical geography side. On the human geography side, we have global systems and global governance, we have changing places and contemporary urban environments. But of course, it's ideal if students look at the links between these topics as well as just the topics themselves. So of course, there's a clear link between, in this case, hazards and water and carbon cycles. Hazards, because tropical storms are a direct consequence of our warming climate, and our warming climate is being caused by our interference with global carbon cycles. So what other links can you think of between topics? We're going to look at a few today, and we're going to hopefully explore how you might look at geography by looking at links between these 6 different topics and parts of physical and human geography. So my first picture is of children playing on a beach. This beach is in Florida. You'll notice the beach is white sand. What could we be looking at here for geography? Well, we could be looking at coastal processes. We could be looking at why this beach is so sandy, how this beach compares with beaches maybe 50 or 100 kilometres further up the coast of Florida. We could be looking at global tourism. We could be looking at why people go to Florida in the first place and the impacts on the economy of the southeastern part of the United States. But I'm going to look at something a bit different. We're going to look at this beach and compare it with this beach. And this beach looks rather different. This beach is in Mumbai, in India. Once again, we've got children playing on the beach, but this beach is not the same as the beach in Florida. Why don't these children have a cleaner beach? What is it that makes the beach in Mumbai like this? So, as geographers, we look for evidence. I'm going to ask you to think about different pictures and think about the story that might be being told by the pictures to explain our beach in Mumbai. The first picture is of an industrial estate in Essex, near London, a long way from Mumbai. In this industrial estate, we have thousands of tonnes of plastic rubbish. Per person, the UK is the second biggest producer of plastic waste in the world, perhaps not surprisingly, after the USA. So that's our first bit of evidence for our story about the beach in Mumbai. Second picture is a shipping container. Standard 3 metre by 2.5 metre by 8 metre size steel box. And into this box you can get an awful lot of plastic waste. Third picture is of one of the world's largest container ships. Yes, with a lot of those containers on. And this ship regularly sails backwards and forwards between the Far East, in particular China, and the ports of Europe. And container ships like this take manufactured goods from China and from other countries in Asia. They bring them to the UK because we don't make as much as we used to. On the return journey, they have a lot of spare capacity because we haven't got a lot to send to China. So immediately some of you are thinking, I can link these 3 pictures. There's a story that links them together. One more to help you, perhaps. These are some workers in India, and they are recycling plastic waste. Many people in India do make a living from recycling plastics. However, India only recycles about 60% of its own plastic waste and doesn't do a great deal with imports from other countries. So, these 4 pictures are starting to explain to us why our Mumbai beach is covered in plastic. Now, most of you will, like this woman here, dutifully recycle plastic on your doorstep, perhaps every week, perhaps every fortnight. Most of us put our plastics out for recycling. Surely this is a good thing. It's a good thing to do, right? Well, yes and no. You might be surprised to hear that 60% of all the plastic waste that's collected in the UK is actually exported. Most of this, when it gets to its destination, is not actually recycled. It's either incinerated or it's just dumped. And yet, because we've recycled it, it counts as recycling in official statistics. So now you're thinking, oh, there's a link between me and that beach in Mumbai. And you'd be right. So this woman here is putting her plastic waste out, perhaps not thinking too much about where it ends up, which is our Mumbai beach, and our lads dutifully trying to dig in the sand. So geographers look at spatial patterns, and to do that we usually use maps. So what patterns does this map show? Well, to me there are a number of issues. There's some graphs at the bottom. There's some countries in yellow, which means they haven't signed up to manage plastic waste like the rest of the world has. You might be worried that 2 of those are USA and China, the world's biggest economies. But also what comes out on this map very well is the fact that most of the countries exporting the plastic waste, those with the grey circles, are wealthier countries. And most of the countries with the red circles, although not all, are actually poorer countries, less wealthy countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and India. So that gives us another layer to our story. Rich countries exporting plastic waste and poor countries importing it. Why do they do that? Because rich countries pay them to do it. Found a quote on the web about somebody who was investigating globalization. And he said, Britain's much cleaner than it used to be. And in part, this is because most of the stuff we consume is now made elsewhere. So we don't get the pollution from making things anymore. And when we finish consuming it, we send what's left somewhere else to be processed. So we don't even deal with the waste left over. And somewhat cynically, he said, this is called globalization. Found a cartoon about it as well. Plastic waste. It's no good for us. The cartoon had it that it's great for them. Those communities really need the plastic waste because they make money from recycling it. Well, the lads on the beach in Florida, I'm sure, would agree that we don't need the plastic waste. Not sure the lads on the beach in Mumbai would necessarily agree with the second half of this cartoon. So what I've shown you there is a link between urban waste and some other aspects of geography. We have a clear link between changing places because Mumbai is being changed a lot by the plastic waste that's being exported. There's a link too to global systems and global governance because we have a whole network of ships that are actually exporting this plastic around the world. There's a link to water and carbon cycles because the plastic waste eventually degrades and releases pollution, including some CO2, back into the atmosphere. There's obviously a link to coastal systems and landscapes because these plastics form a large part of the landscape in some parts of the world. And there's even a link to hazards because typhoons and cyclones are partly responsible for releasing the plastic waste from landfill sites and from people's backyards into local river systems where it gets washed into the sea. So links between all our topics in geography. Obviously, it's not just plastic waste we look at, and these are some of the other topical issues you might look at if you were to come and study geography here. Migration, making mobiles, the ones in your pockets, where it happens and why. Changing climates that we're all experiencing, and global transport. Many of these issues I've explored today. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope you'll consider geography at Huddersfield New College.